Birmingham there. The Australian Wildlife Conservancy hopes 10 native endangered species in Central Australia will recover after the construction of a large cat-proof fence. Newhaven Station near Alice Springs has started work on a 44-kilometre fence which it hopes will rid 9,500 hectares of the property of feral animals. The Conservancy's Atticus Fleming joins us now. Atticus Fleming, welcome. So first of all, tell us about this Newhaven property.
It's a spectacular property, 2,500 square kilometres. It's unusual in Central Australia in that it has a really diverse range of habitats. Quartzite ranges, spinifex sand plains. Those beautiful habitats are what's important to the animals that unfortunately have been lost from Central Australia. This project is about bringing them back.
And is this a property that the Conservancy has bought in the last 10 years or so from a cattle producer, and there's no cattle running on it anymore or something like that?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So it's the traditional owners of the Warlpiri people. That's important. It was a pastoral station, as in there was a guy who ran cattle there for, believe it or not, for 40 odd years, but it's now run for conservation. And the problem with Central Australia, like much of inland Australia, is it's largely a marsupial ghost town. And that's because feral cats have literally robbed much of Australia of their native wildlife.
So since you've owned this property, what have you found about the extent of the presence of feral cats on Newhaven?
Well, literally right across Australia, feral cats are everywhere, in every habitat. So last night, while your viewers were asleep, feral cats killed millions of native animals across Australia, just last night.
Millions? And that's not an overstatement? Millions?
That's not an overstatement. There are millions of feral cats in Australia. Some of our science is showing they're killing 5 to 7 native animals each per night.
And so what were some of the native animals that used to be quite prolific around Newhaven Station that just aren't there anymore?
Well, when the early explorers passed through this part of inland Australia, they saw swarms of rock wallabies. They had to get off their horses sometimes because there were so many little mammals. So what the early explorers saw was a bush that was alive with small native animals. That's gone from right across inland and Central Australia. If we can remove the feral cats from this massive part of Central Australia, we can turn back the clock, basically turn back time and create a big landscape in Central Australia that will again be alive with small native mammals. And
so how are you going to do that? Are you, like, once this fence is built, are you going to shoot the cats or bait them, or how are you going to get rid of them? And then how are you going to repopulate this area?
So we're working very closely with the Warlpiri traditional owners. They're helping us to build the fence, which is the first step, and the first stage of that is 45 kilometres. It's a specially designed fence, 6 foot high, with various mechanisms to keep cats out and rabbits and foxes. Once we've finished the fence, we remove the cats and foxes from inside, and the Warlpiri are very important as part of that process because they are some of the best trackers in the world, and certainly some of the best cat trackers in the country. So that means we should be able to relatively quickly catch and remove the feral cats from within the fence.
And just before you go, and I guess that's a bit of a touchy subject for conservationists, is what you then do with the feral cats. Do you euthanize them, or what do you do with them?
I don't think it's very touchy. I mean, feral cats are killing millions of native animals every night, so we have a choice. Cats or bilbies, for example. So when we catch the cat, we kill the cat, humanely.
Yeah.
But the objective of this exercise is to save our wildlife from extinction. Yeah. And to do that, we need to remove feral cats.
And so then what's the process of repopulation?
So some of these animals that we're bringing back, they've been missing for decades from Central Australia, many of them. So some of them are coming back from offshore islands where they've been living in cat-free islands. So it's a series of translocations. We'll basically be airlifting animals back into Central Australia and releasing them into a secure cat-free landscape.
And so what are some examples of those? I guess the rock wallaby will be one. And where will you be getting them from?
So some of the examples that people will know about are the bilby or the numbat.
Yep.
So some of those we'll get from other Australian Wildlife Conservancy properties. Some we're working closely with national parks agencies around the country. So it'll be from a range of different sources. And there's an important sort of scientific process to go through to make sure you're getting the right genetics. So that's a process that'll take a couple of years. But what we'll end up with is this secure population. And the good news is, once you release these animals into a cat-free environment, they'll breed like rabbits.
So do you have to control them then?
Well,
the
no,
numbers?
because this is such a big landscape
Right.
that they'll eventually reach a carrying capacity. But the return, if you like, is huge on this investment because we'll double double the surviving population of at least 6 of Australia's most threatened mammals. And as you said in your intro, 10 endangered animals will have a big increase in their population.
And then is the plan to, like, now that you've got this particular property there, you kind of expand it and take in more territory around it so more land can be reclaimed?
So there's really 2 things. We need a national network of really big cat-free areas. And Australian Wildlife Conservancy has already done 3 or 4 smaller areas. This will be our largest. So that's one strategy. In the longer term, obviously we're looking for that silver bullet that can remove cats from everywhere, but that could take decades. So if we don't act now with these cat-free areas, more animals will become extinct.
Okay, Atticus Fleming, really interesting having a chat to you, and good luck with the project.
Thanks, Joe.